This game looks oddly familiar. I mean, I can swear I've seen that shape hovering above a person's head before, but the gameplay just seems so alien. Where have I seen this before?
Sabata, Nipa.
Shuba. Ah.
Huh. Well, some people might call me, shallow, but I prefer the term critic. Whoa, wait a minute. It's trans? Can it be? No, it can't. Turn away, furry mug. Today, we send into godhood. Extremely progressive and inclusive. This can only mean one thing. It's a Sims game. The Sims 4, a game whose 3 predecessors all broke high into the top-selling PCD charts and yet crashed and burned at the gate. Considered the most disappointing although far from the worst Sims game, Sims 4 went in an entirely different direction than the series was headed. It's not a bad game, I'll start with that, but why did so many people, myself included, hate The Sims 4? Well, The Sims is a life simulator, and a very good one at that, with the chance of random death, an entire world filled with things to do, and citizens that weren't always pleasant to be around. In the previous 3 games, The Sims felt real. They felt like an actual living, breathing, little pathfinding AIs that I was in charge of caring for, and as the series progressed, the more I felt that way. The Sims 3 was highly realistic where it needed to be and playful where it needed to be, and never have I felt so enamored by a game. The game is the one I've played the most, and with over 400 hours invested, the second being Skyrim at 130 hours invested, so obviously the more realistic approach worked. With everyone saying that the realism and open world nature of The Sims 3 being its top qualities, we were all expecting The Sims 4 to give us more of that. But actually, we got the complete opposite. First, the very frustrating fact that it's closed world. I understand the reasoning, however. The Sims 3 struggled to run on home computers as more and more patches were released due to its open world nature, and even the vanilla version easily crashed or overheated laptops. Expansion packs made it worse. I currently own 4, making it so the game still sometimes crashes my decent home computer on low graphics settings. The developers faced a choice of keeping The Sims accessible to those that only had laptops or cheap family computers like myself, or improve the graphics and flow of the gameplay mechanics. Along with getting rid of the open world from The Sims 3, they also got rid of creative style, which allowed the players to recolor clothes, furniture, floors, practically anything. While I do more in the tool that I used on literally everything I could, I admit that my computer really struggled to pull it up. And yes, it is frustrating they got rid of the 2 biggest selling points of The Sims 3, but I actually give them a thumbs up for making the game more accessible to the poor like me who would need to buy a new computer to get a 5th expansion pack for The Sims 3. Then the second more frustrating feature, the lack of realism in the cartoonish nature. The cartoon graphics were likely chosen either due to their time constraints, as the Sims studio was already busy churning out expansion packs and patches for The Sims 3, as well as updating the Sims 3 store, or as a choice to make it run on slower computers. It's also worth mentioning that Will Wright, creator of The Sims 1 through 3, was always the pusher for making the game more realistic. He left Maxis once production of The Sims 3 finished, making it so The Sims 3 expansions and that The Sims 4 were made entirely without his guidance, and it showed. Many expansion packs for The Sims 3 added more cartoonish deaths or non-realistic things altogether, and The Sims 4 tossed realism completely out of the window. I suppose what I'm saying is that The Sims 4 isn't a Sims game, and should stop being viewed as one. It's jarringly different than The Sims 3, and if you keep trying to do things in The Sims 4 that you did in 3, you're going to be disappointed like me and the rest of the Sims fans. The biggest problem with The Sims 4 is its lack of identity. The fact that it makes me want to play the more addictive and satisfying Sims 3, although when I play Sims 3, I'm sometimes finding myself wanting to dabble in the whimsical nature of 4. Sims 4 is better relieving stress or being played for a few moments, whereas The Sims 3 can be played for 12 hours at a time if you really wanted to. Now, maybe you've bought The Sims 4 and you have no idea what I'm talking about. Here's the thing, you kinda have to play it a lot to get into the swing of it because it is just so different from the rest of the games. Sims 3 was simple and easy to understand even if you didn't play The Sims 2, and The Sims 4 is complicated. It took me literally about 10 hours of gameplay just to figure out the new action queue, and 12 hours of realizing needs had switched order and that my Sims weren't hungry, they just all really had to pee. Seriously, that was completely unnecessary. That's where hunger used to be in the old games. So, should you buy The Sims 4? Well, it really depends on what you're looking for in it. The cons of this game are pretty apparent. Don't buy this game if you're looking for something to get invested in. Buy The Sims 3 instead. You're also going to need to invest a good bit of time anyway to figure out all the bells and whistles of the new mechanics, which were very confusing to me the first few hours of play. It's also riddled with little bugs, like my Sims keep wanting to marry his husband for some reason, even though they're already married. But so is The Sims 3 for that matter. The new personality building thing feels more constricted than it was in The Sims 3 due to the fact you can only choose 3 traits versus the normal 5. But the aspiration mechanics are less of a lifelong goal and something you work towards in increments as far as I understand, which is a plus for me. The want system is more frustrating in that you only get 3 slots, one of which cannot be pinned and is as fickle as your Sims' emotions. It's closed world, which will feel odd if you played more The Sims 3, and the creative style tool is completely gone. Also, the main menu is confusing. There's a button that looks like new game, but it's not. It's the create a new family to play in your previous save button. This new game button is hidden for some reason. Seriously, for about the first 10 hours of play, I thought I couldn't make a new save and that I only got 1. As far as nitpicking, for some reason they decided babies should be objects and that the only way you can move them is with the buy mode. You know, the one that you use to trap Sims in a room with a stove so that they slowly meet the fiery demise. I can't control the individual aging process as far as I can tell, so I can't make Sims be adults for practically forever, whereas they'll graduate teenhood in a matter of days. You can't randomly get sick, but to be fair, you needed the seasons expansions to get sick in 3, and even then it wasn't as bad as being sick in The Sims 2. Give sick back. The pros, oddly enough, outweigh the cons for me. This game in a way helps me appreciate The Sims 3, and that if I switch between the two I can get longer enjoyment from both. They break up the monotony of each other, and The Sims 4 is a good thing to play if you only have an hour on your hands, whereas The Sims 3 is going to take half an hour of that to load, and the second half to get back into your Sims daily rhythm. The Sims 4 is mere chaotic, more like when you download 15 mods with the sole purpose of seeing how broken you can make a Bethesda game. And yes, you can't have the satisfaction of long-term goals, but it gives much more instant pleasure than Sims 3, assuming you spent the 15 hours I did to get into the swing of the new mechanics. The Sims 4 is also much more animated, more silly, more lighthearted than the prior installments, which was really jarring to me when I first started playing, but now I find it really charming. The graphics are smoother and less textured, your Sims move like Italian theater students, and sometimes you just get events like this. Oh, they're embarrassed. They want to hide from everyone.
Nibs. Or Badrene.
Relatable content. This game, as much as I like to hate it, it's actually more whimsically fun than The Sims 3. I find myself less worried about my Sims' well-being and more able to do crazy things. For instance, I would have never built half my house outside in The Sims 3, would never just let my Sims do as they please to see the outcome, none of that. But what do I love most about The Sims 4, and why did I play a game I hated for 10 plus hours just to make sure that I hated it? The answer is pretty stupid, I guess, but it was the Create a Sim update. I really liked Sims 4's Create a Sim, although I found it frustrating as I was so used to the way Sims 3 worked. It was more intuitive, and for the first time you could directly change a Sim's body. And it runs much faster and smoother than The Sims 3, which lags like hell for me. However, until recently, I had the same problem with it as I did in Sims 3, and that was gender locked. My single most played sim was based on a trans character of mine, and it really frustrated me that he peed standing up, couldn't get pregnant, was limited to purely masculine things, when the character always felt more comfortable in dresses than he did in breeches. In fact, I had actually completely given up on The Sims 4 after just about 4 hours of gameplay, and wrote and began production of a very different review, until I heard that they had updated The Sims 4 to allow trans Sims, and made it so that the masculine and feminine filters on hair and clothing could be turned off. It was a gaming intervention that I wasn't expecting to see for another decade, to be honest. But in hindsight, The Sims was pansexual as hell back in 2000, when most non-American games can't even get their shit together today. Come on, Tamagotchi life, I would literally buy a 3DS on my McDonald's paycheck if you let my character be trans or gay, preferably both. The first time I started up the new Create a Sim, I actually cried. Again, I wasn't expecting to see such great and prominent trans representation in gaming for another decade. So to see it today, when it's just a popular thing to hate and jeer at, it was amazing. I actually cried while writing this script too, but to be fair, I also cried because a customer was mean to me at work today, so, you know. It's also more expensive than it's worth at full price. It used to be $90 when it first came out, but today the official price is about $60. I bought the game for $40 when it was on sale, which is an okay buy, but I just don't get enough hours of play to justify spending $60+ on the vanilla version unless, like me, you're a little desperate for trans representation.